Deval Patrick, his campaign is off to an amazing start. He's one of the, the late entries into the race, former governor of Massachusetts, also massive corporate sellout, worked for Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's vulture capitalism company. He was a fixer for a lot of big corporations where if there were racial issues at those corporations, he would swoop in and do his best to try to rehabilitate the image of terrible companies that do terrible things. So hops in the race late. Already it's like, wow, why on earth would you do that? You're going to get your ass handed to you on a silver platter. But nonetheless, he did it. His couldn't help himself. Some people are saying, oh my God, this is like this is a strategy from the establishment to split the vote more, to get to a brokered convention, to steal it from Bernie and all that stuff. No, I disagree on that point. You want to know why? You are massively overestimating their intelligence. They're not that smart. The establishment is not that smart. They're actually really stupid. They lost to Trump. The Democratic establishment lost to Donald Trump. It turns out the more accurate reflection of reality is turn the Benny Hill music on and look at what they're doing, and it works that way. That music fits them perfectly because they just bungle one thing after another thing after another thing. And so the idea here is, and I'm not kidding about this, oh my God, Biden might not last. The next centrists that we're most comfortable with, who we'd be okay with if Biden doesn't last, is Mayor Pete and Amy Klobuchar. Mayor Pete's a mayor from South Bend, Indiana. Amy Klobuchar is Amy Klobuchar, and she's got, the personality of a dead fish. So we need more insurance policies. So who's your insurance policy? Deval Patrick hops in. And the Obama people behind the scenes are, trying to pump him up a little bit. So, guys, they're serious. They think like he can win, and they want him to become a serious contender. So he hops in the race at this late date, delusional that he thinks he's going to have a shot and take off. And the campaign's already off to a great start. Look at this tweet from CNN. Annie Greyer says, Governor Deval Patrick was supposed to have an event at Morehouse College tonight. By the way, that's a historically black college. An organizer with the college who planned the event told CNN that Patrick canceled the event when he arrived and learned that he would not have an audience. Note, 2 people came, not pictured. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? This reminds me of the Martin O'Malley story. We covered remember when Martin O'Malley was running in 2016 and his campaign just wasn't taking off? Him and Lincoln Chafee, they went nowhere. And Jim Webb, who casually spoke about killing a guy on stage at a debate. But their campaigns weren't going anywhere. But poor Martin O'Malley kept trudging forward. He held an event in, I think it was Iowa, although I could be wrong. 1 person showed up to the event. Now, to be fair to Martin O'Malley, it was snowing outside. And people were like, I don't want to get stuck in the snow and all that stuff. So 1 person showed up. That was a big story. We covered it. We made fun of it. They don't have that same excuse. Deval Patrick doesn't have that excuse. Nobody showed up to your event, bro. 2 people showed up to your event. How's the campaign going, fam? The first article I've seen on Deval Patrick, the first story I've seen is this. The second story is The Hill tweeted a clip. He went on like CNN's Van Jones show or whatever. Deval Patrick did. And he said, say a prayer for our republic. I'm absolutely floored at the fact that so many Democratic politicians are running like it's 1992. They're totally out of touch with the times, man. But I guess that's what happens when you're, buddy-buddy with corporate America for decades. Like, how do you not know that that's not a thing anymore? That, like, you can't run on, like, I'm a religious man, and I'm a good man. Say a prayer for our republic, yeah? That's not... Nobody's going to look at that and go, he really swayed me. It's a totally different political era. All the things that used to be political liabilities are now political assets. Having no filter, shooting from the hip, being punchy and to the point, not looking professional, looking the opposite of professional. Donald Trump is president and Bernie Sanders is one of the front runners in the race. Obviously, obvious professionalism and, scripted talking points and religion in the public square. It's not a thing, man. Oh my God. Probably one of the things I'm most looking forward to moving forwards is watching Mike Bloomberg just stagnate and stall out and go nowhere, and watching Deval Patrick go absolutely nowhere and then at some point have to drop out. Two people showed up to the event, bro. I have to say, and I will brag a little bit here, but it perfectly makes sense in the context of the story. And hey, we got 1,000 witnesses. When we went to Politicon, Corin and I, it was in Nashville, Tennessee this year, we did a meet and greet. Now, I told them beforehand, listen, I'm going to need a lot of time because there's probably going to be a decent-sized line, and I'm doing that based off the previous year's Politicon, where there were a lot of people who were there for us. So anyway, they set it up for, an hour and a half. We go in there, we're taking pictures. Guys, I don't know the exact number, so I don't want to give an exact number, but it was definitely over 1,000 people. Definitely over 1,000 people. And the line for us, myself and Corin, who was there with me, it went out around a bus they had in the middle of the frickin' room, and then back and maybe like literally out the door. I was floored by it, and I was flattered and humbled by it, by the way. Well, obviously I'm not too humble because I'm bragging about it as we speak. But I was like, whoa, that's all for us? You know who they brought out next to me? Dude who's running for president. Bill Weld. He's running in the Republican primary. Last election, he was Gary Johnson's VP. Gary Johnson was the Libertarian Party candidate. Bill Weld was Gary Johnson's VP. Ran for president. Obviously, they didn't do too well. This time around, Bill Weld's like, I'm going to primary Trump. He's trying to run on like the old school Republican brand. He's trying to be like, old school professional type Republican who's still for all the same policies as Trump. That's the sense I get. He goes out there, he had like nobody on his line. We're a YouTube show, okay? We had so many people, he had next to nobody. We dwarfed his line. I've never been like more shocked in my life, and I've also never been more amazed at the hubris of a guy like Bill Weld who's running for president despite the fact he has less than no chance. And that's what I see when I look at Deval Patrick. Like, his self-perception is so out of lockstep with the reality of who he is and what he's done. He thinks he's God's gift to this earth. He thinks he's special. He thinks he's got a real shot here. Nobody even showed up. By the way, Bernie had an event at Morehouse the day after. It was jam-packed. There were awesome videos coming out of that event, and he got an amazing ovation at Morehouse College. So, anyway, Deval Patrick is Bill Weld, and he's running on his own ego, and he's going to go nowhere, and it's kind of embarrassing, and quite literally, well, even though I literally can't do it because I'm not 35 yet, and you have to be 35 to be president, but if I announced a presidential run in one day without doing anything, I would, get, 400 times the amount of support as Deval Patrick, and how sad is that? I mean, that's so sad. And by the way, the mainstream media wouldn't talk about me at all if I did that. But for him, they're going to talk about him a lot, even though he has, next to no support. It just shows the disconnect, man. It shows the disconnect from reality among him and among the media. And I can't get enough of these stories. I want to see so many more of these. I really do. I want to hear about all, the sad turnout stories. By the way, even Joe Biden, even though he's leading in a lot of polls, his turnout is apparently not great. Not nearly as bad as Deval Patrick, don't get me wrong. But Joe Biden will do events in New Hampshire and Iowa, and he'll fill a classroom. Bernie Sanders is getting way more than that. Even Elizabeth Warren is getting way more than that. So, I mean, it says something. It says something that candidates who rep a particular ideology, they just flail and go nowhere.